This morning on Truth Social, there have been many posts about Jeffrey Epstein and what he is now deeming the Epstein hoax. He's saying he wants the Department of Justice to investigate Jeffrey Epstein's relationships with Democrats, Larry Summers, J.P. Morgan Chase, Bill Clinton. He's lashed out at Republicans for continuing to focus on this. What is your, I hesitate to ask you to get inside the man's head, but get inside his head. What is going on? Do you think?
I really don't want to.
Okay. Well, what is, as you observe this, you're an interested party here. What is your take on how this is playing out and why he's acting in incredibly guilty fashion?
Well, he is in daily panic mode as we get closer to the moment where these files and the fullest truth that we have available to us is going to be made public. And it is clearly the biggest scandal in presidential history. And he wouldn't be acting this way if he wasn't so deeply worried about what sits in those files. What we've already seen is immensely incriminating. Clearly, Donald Trump was at the center of a child sex ring. That is heartbreaking, that the President of the United States was involved in that kind of gross, craven immorality. And it stands to reason that he wouldn't be fighting so hard to spin against this story or bullying Republicans in the House to prevent the release of these files if there wasn't something especially and specifically incriminating in that information. Now, I think the scandal in and of itself could bring him down, but we also do have to contextualize it, because what Donald Trump is all about is protecting the rich and powerful and stealing from normal people, regular middle class and poor folks, in order to enrich the rich and powerful. And this is very much part of that story. Yes, I am sure that there are both Republicans and Democrats named in those files. There are powerful people on both sides of the aisle. But what Trump is all about is, not really playing a game based on politics, but playing a game based on wealth and influence. If you have wealth and influence, Donald Trump is going to protect you, and that is consistent through everything he has done during the first 9 months of this administration.
So, as I understand it, the House will vote next week on the release of the files, because the discharge petition, I'm not trying to get too in the weeds here, but they are going to have a vote next week on the release of the files, and it's widely expected that it will pass. And at that point, it does go to the Senate. What are your expectations for a vote in your chamber on that specific issue?
Well, the Senate has, essentially been, out of the loop. There's been very little, almost no pressure on Senate leadership, Republicans, because of what's been happening in the House of Representatives. But 6 months ago, you would have thought there was no shot that the House of Representatives would vote in what is likely to be a pretty big bipartisan vote. They only got 3 or 4 Republicans to sign the discharge petition, but they may get dozens. And
after weeks of tension over foreign policy, economic messaging, and most of all, the fight over releasing the Epstein files, President Trump has now formally broken up with his once loyal MAGA ally, Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene. He made the announcement in a lengthy Truth Social post, saying all she does is, quote, complain, 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 withdrawing support for her in 2026. He also claims the fight started after he told her she, quote, didn't have a chance running for senator or governor. That rift exploded online yesterday when President Trump took to Truth Social to road test some new nicknames. First, calling her Marjorie Taylor Brown, explaining, quote, green grass turns brown when it begins to rot. Then opting for Marjorie Traitor Greene. This is the President of the United States. Nonetheless, Congresswoman Greene is holding strong, warning her colleagues ahead of Tuesday's vote. She said, you vote no on Tuesday to release the Epstein files and face severe outrage from America. Republicans don't have support from women, and this right here is a perfect example of why. It is, in other words, the beginning of a full-blown MAGA family feud erupting just as the House prepares for that rare vote to make the Epstein records public. And it shows no signs of slowing down.
President Trump and his administration does deserve a lot of credit for lowering inflation and holding it steady. But that doesn't bring prices down. And so gaslighting the people and trying to tell them that prices have come down is not helping. It's actually infuriating people.
Does Marjorie Taylor Greene have a point?
Does she have a point, though?
I know nothing about her.
On the release of all the files.
Well, they can have whatever they want. They already do. I think they have 50,000 pages already. Look, this is a Democrat hoax. This is a hoax put out by the Democrat, and a few Republicans have gone along with it because they're weak and ineffective.
And while Trump may claim this is all part of a Democratic hoax, many of his supporters aren't listening. According to new polling from the Associated Press, just 68% of Republicans say they approve of Trump's handling of the federal government. That is down double digits from March. Joining us now to talk about all of this, Notice White House correspondent Jasmine Wright and MS Now congressional reporter Michael Schnell. Thank you both for joining us this morning.
Morning.
We hate a breakup. You know, it's very sad for the family. Very sad for the kids. For the children. I want to start with you because, you know, all of us have been trying to get in Trump's head for a very long time. And there's one thing that we really have learned is that for him, loyalty is a one-way street, right? That at the end of the day, if you do anything that he feels like is stepping out of line, he throws you out to the woods. But we've seen him come back from this, right? Him and Elon are kind of becoming friends or whatever, frenemies again. But this feels deeper, right? This is on policy. And Marjorie Taylor Greene honestly seems to be more of the purist when it comes to the America First argument, right? Like Trump is kind of outside of the bounds of what the America First movement was about.
Yeah, she continues to say that she is still America First and America only, and that is what is really fueling some of the complaints. But this is just not the first time that we've heard Marjorie Taylor Greene over the course of the last 3 months really complain about the Trump administration. The president is right in that. She has really pushed back on him with all of the foreign wars that he says that he is trying to end or draw to a close, pushed back on him with all the foreign leaders that he has continued to bring into the White House or go across the world to see, basically saying that there's not been enough focus on America First, and thus you see reflected in the prices. And so her name has been something that has come up a lot when I talk to White House officials behind the scenes about they don't know what's happening with her, or they say that after they did have that conversation about the fact that she shouldn't run for Senate because the poll numbers, they said, just weren't there, that that she kind of changed. And so there has been a lot of concern and, some anger at Marjorie Taylor Greene just behind the scenes for the past few months as she has continued to complain about the White House. And now you see it, of course, spilling out in public open and obviously, capped off with those Trump comments.
One of the things that she said recently on NBC on Friday, no one cares about the foreign countries. No one cares about the never-ending amount of foreign leaders coming to the White House every single week, speaking to your point there.
Mm-hmm. And Michael, you have covered Marjorie Taylor Greene very closely for a few years now, and it is, no matter what Trump is truth socialing, he cannot deny the closeness of their relationship and the mutual admiration up until this point. I mean, Marjorie Taylor Greene was the person who, the day after January 6th, still claimed, as all of the backlash was piling up on Trump, that this party is his, it doesn't belong to anyone else. I mean, can you talk a little bit about the trajectory of their relationship, but also Marjorie Taylor Greene's singular popularity?
Yeah.
And I mean, it's hard for me to believe that the polling actually wasn't in favor of Marjorie Taylor Greene when you're looking at a potential Senate race. She is one of the top grassroots fundraisers in the party. She's eschewed corporate donations.
This story is being buoyed, is being kind of reinvigorated by the stuff around Bill Clinton. And so in that sense, the stuff around Bill, even if it's fake, again, we have to, I want to make this very clear. There's less evidence of the Bill stuff than of what Trump may or may not have done alongside Epstein. But the reality is that's really invigorated this story. And so in a roundabout way, it's caused a lot of damage to Trump, and it's lit a fire under the main Epstein story, which is what we covered in the clips I showed you. But if you go to Google Trends, if you go to the Google Trends, It's something that a lot of like people look to use to look at what people on the internet are talking about in the US and around the world, what people are searching for, and what those things are connected to. And right now, obviously, in the last week, searches for Trump are up, but searches for Trump are always high because he's the president, right? And searches for Clinton are way up. But what's really critical is in the last day, the last few hours even, the searches for Trump that are most connected are all about Bill. And so when you search Trump and Bill, it brings you those claims made by Epstein and Bubba, if you will, if that's really Bill, right? We have to make that assumption, but that's not necessarily proven. Then you get to the main story. And so in essence, you can see the pattern being formed by people that may not have followed this story before. Before it was you search Trump and Maxwell or Trump and Epstein, right? Or maybe Trump and some of the British royal family or whatever. But now it's like you search Trump and Bill Clinton, right? And that brings you to the claims made by Epstein in those emails. And those claims then bring you to the main story of the women and how brave so many of them are that they continue to survive and fight for justice. And so in essence, the roundabout connection gets us to an important story. And I think that's incredibly interesting.